Rugby is a game of passion, speed and power. Playing rugby is a great experience and a great talking point with people, and yet when asked what you do, when you answer, all you get is a glazed look of confusion. Unlike football, in which somebody naturally understands the meaning of attacker, midfielder and defender, if you say to someone you play prop or lock or outside centre, all you're doing is telling them a random selection of letters. So what I plan to do is help explain each and every position you can play across the pitch in rugby union, from the battlefield of the front row all the way to the speed machines of the wing. You will learn what it takes to play each and every position, for things like training in diets to injury prevention and tricks of the trade.
And this sorts the men from the boys. Pause, engage!
Away they go again, massive scrum try. Picked up now by Morgan, he rolls, tries to get it down, but it is a penalty try, says Nigel Owens. England have their try, the forwards have their reward.
Well, that's what they were going for.
A rugby team consists of 15 players, 8 forwards and 7 backs. The 2 locks wear the number 4 and 5 shirts and are part of the forwards. They are placed in what is known as the second row, behind the front row and in front of the back row, with number 5 being the loose headlock and being on the left hand side of the scrum, with number 4 being the tight headlock and being on the right hand side of the scrum. But what is the actual difference between the number 4 and number 5 lock?
Generally the number 4 lock might be a bit heavier. He'll be on the right hand side of the scrum, he's behind the tight head, and he's more likely to be at the front of the line out, less likely to be calling the line out himself. The number 5 lock is more likely to be your line out caller, who would probably be maybe slightly taller and lighter and a bit more athletic possibly.
Usually you tend to find that the tight head lock, so on the right hand side of the scrum, would be a heavier lock of the two, and the left hand lock, the loose head lock, would be a lighter lock. Now that's the way it is because of the disparity in the front row. When there's more pressure coming on the tight head side, you want a bit more ballast.
You're the heavier one, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
It kind of depends who your partner is more than anything. Typically number 5 is normally the line out cooler and sort of more of an aerial target in the line out. But it's kind of a bit of a blend now. They're kind of quite similar now.
Well, there is a difference in the scrum, in the way it moves and that sort of thing. And I was always quite strong, and I think I was probably put on the right hand side because the scrum tended to wheel that way, so the strength sort of kept it straight. And I love playing on the right hand side.
There doesn't have to be a distance difference, but there tends to be. You tend to find that number 4's slightly larger and heavier, and number 5 tends to be a little bit more athletic. But let's say it's a little bit different to that because Courtney Lowe's playing number 4. He's not the biggest guy, but he's obviously very physical, and it's my job maybe to add a bit more ballast than a number 5 would do usually. But I also run the line out. So
I normally wear number 4, and I'm normally on the tight head side of the scrum.
Well, I was one of those people. I was I don't know whether you call it ambidextrous or what it is, but I could have played either side. My preference was to play on the right hand side.
I'm probably better playing the 5 position, I think. Basically get behind the prop, get a good tight bind with the other second row partner, good tight bind with the prop, and push as hard as I can really, and just try and stay straight and stop, if I can keep the prop straight as well.
So primarily in set piece terms, scrumming is about power output and generating momentum. You're kind of supporting your tight head and hooker in trying to get them moving forward, allowing you an easier, freer strike of the ball and putting pressure on the opposition. And when it comes to line out, it's about being powerful and explosive, finding space and delivering quality set piece ball to your halfbacks.
So in the scrum, I'm behind the tight head in the scrum. So it's a big chance for me to work with my tight head in the scrum, stay nice and tight to him, and basically help him out where I can and push him around the scrum. In the line out, I'm normally sort of towards the back in the line out, offering an option sort of to jump.
Well, the game has changed dramatically since the days that I played. It's now a professional game, and the game itself has actually changed. In my day as a second row forward, my job was to number one, pushing the scrums, keep the scrums tight, and because the scrummage was a very important facet of the game. And I wish it still was, because the scrummaging has gone, well, I don't know what they're trying to do now, but it was the old feeling of, you know, which I still believe in. The team that scrummages well and the team that dominates in the scrummage is normally the team that wins, because you win your ball in the scrum, you literally dictate everything, every other facet of play from there on. Your back row can use ball that you have when you have a good scrum. Your scrum half can use ball and make a break or do various things when you have a dominant scrum. Your backs have that extra couple of yards when you have a dominant scrum. And you know, one of the things I always said, get the scrum right and everything else falls into place, and it really does. So my first job, my primary job, was to be a good scrummager. And I believed in that, and I would still believe in that. Basically to get the ball for the backs. The same in the line out. Of course, nowadays they have lifting and all sorts of things, which I don't understand, and they don't even compete half time in the line out. So I don't understand that. And my day, certainly, there was no lifting in the line out. You had to fight and wrestle and all sorts of things for the ball. And so my job again was, because I was fairly tall in my day. They're a lot taller than they are now, but and believe it or not, in my early days I was the line out forward. So my job was to jump and get the ball, and you had the people around you who supported you and blocked you and drove the ball or gave the ball back or that sort of thing.
Yeah, as I say, I run the line out at Saints, so my job is to call the line out and make sure everyone's doing what they should be there. But I also play on the right side of the scrum behind the tight head, so I'm also, you know, the biggest, heaviest lock generally. So I have a lot of work to do in the tight as well.
Oh, lots. The line out, so in our ball, it's in terms of calling the line out in terms. So I'll speak with the number 10 who kind of runs the game about what formation he wants, what numbers he wants, whether he wants if he wants us to drive or off the top ball, and then I'll decide on what line out sort of options we'll use after that. In open play, my main role is probably a lot of the less glamorous stuff, kind of cleaning out the rucks. Occasionally do some ball carrying, raw running decoy lines.
Open play, generally second rows tend to do a lot of hitting rucks and tackling and general unfancy ball carrying. So by that I mean that you don't get in open spaces, not in wide channels. You're generally carrying into traffic where there are other big blokes trying to bash holes at you.
And then outside the set piece, obviously, try and make my figures as high as possible in terms of rucks hit and tackles and carries.
I'm kind of like a work rate second row, so I hit a lot of rucks, make a lot of tackles hopefully, and obviously, you know, my job's also to ball carry, but probably to a lesser extent than the back row. I've also got an important job at kick-offs, taking the ball high, and sometimes I get to pass the ball as well.
And then, of course, in my day, and this has gone as well, in my day, there were rucks where you went in and you literally heeled the ball back out of the rucks. And I can tell you, and I still believe in that, because I can tell you didn't lie on the ground in my day. You lay on the ground at your peril. And particularly in places like New Zealand and South Africa. And you know, it was great because the ball came quickly. There were none of this holding the ball and all sorts of things that I see nowadays. So my job was in that ruck, to get that ball back from the ruck again. Now, anything after that, it was the back play all the time. We were to get the ball for the backs. That was basically my job. Anything outside that, we wouldn't be appearing on the wing and the centre and all the other things that you see forwards appearing nowadays. Our job was work, 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 work. Get the ball, get the ball, get the ball, no matter where it was. Anything outside that was bonus. The back row was the sort of different, it was the forward between the forwards and the backs. And you'd have seen a lot more of them, the three back row forwards. You've probably seen a lot more of them in the loose game, the loose part of the game, than in those days. Then you wouldn't see the tight forwards, the front row, and the two locks. You wouldn't have seen them really in the game. They were the workers, work all the time.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely changed over the years. I think perhaps 5-6 years ago, you looked at the second rows then, and that they were more about sort of power and strength. Now I'd say it's slightly gone more towards being more athletic. I think if you look at the guys who are at the top of the charts in world rugby and second rows at the moment, they're athletic figures who like to get around the park and have a blend of that power, but also have the ability to sort of get round and sort of tire out the opposition.
I think if you're going to play at the highest level, you need to be able to balance the two, because being the strongest guy probably won't bring you much success, and being technically very good isn't going to bring you any success if you're physically not good enough either. So I think, yeah, if you're playing at Premiership level or close to it, you need to bring both to the table and be technically sound, but also be physically very strong and powerful, as you say.
Well, you just need to have kind of be as good as you can at both of them, really. So you obviously do a lot of work in the gym to work your strength and power. Then the technical side comes in the training we do, and then you kind of add sort of skillful touches to your game, offloads, passing, that kind of stuff. That's more of a matter of kind of, well, you can work on those kind of things, but some people are good at them and some people aren't really. Height. You've got to be fit. You've got to be big and strong, really. Those are, I'd say, physically the main aspects. You can get guys who can be good players because they're fit, they're strong. They're not particularly skillful players, but they work hard. And then sort of the best players are the ones who are fit, strong, powerful athletes, good defenders. But then also they understand how the game works. They can pass and catch, and they can offload, things like that.
You need to have good game understanding if you're going to be effective at playing second row. You need to be efficient with your movements on the field. You need to make good decisions where you can benefit play and where you're not going to impact play at all. But historically, second rows have been kind of enforcers. They're the people who kind of get the nasty jobs done. I think more so in modern games, the second row is more of an enforcer in terms of kind of dynamic play on the field. Generally, they're still taller than other people, so it's about using those attributes with good carrying skills, offloads, big offensive tackles.
I'd say work rate is very important. I think to be able to sort of outwork your opposition is a massively important feature of being a second row. Physicality, I don't think you can mix it in the front five of a pack without being physical. And lastly, I'd say skill set. I think to set yourself aside from other second rows in your position and sort of in your area. If you've got a higher skill set than them, that will set you in a good stead.
I would say a modern day second row will be at least 6'5" and 17 stone. They'll have good ball skills in terms of catching, passing, and being able to take high balls. And also they'll have a physical element to their game. They're not afraid of contact, and they're willing to put their head in some dark places.
To play you obviously require stamina, tremendous stamina, because I was saying about work. I'm talking about 80 minutes. In the backs they have a run, they have a break, they have a breather. In the forwards, you're working. 80 minutes, you're working. And that's another thing about my game and today's game. I had 63 caps for Ireland. I had 63 80 minutes. A lot of these guys don't play 80 minutes today. So it's a lot different. We had to have that fitness. We trained for 80 minutes and we played for 80 minutes. Now, I was lucky. I never left the field in my life. If somebody had taken me off, because it's a bit in here, if somebody had taken me off the field and said, no, we're putting so and so on, I would have said, keep your game. I trained for 80 minutes, I'm going to play for 80 minutes. That's how you judge me.
I think we'll do, in the gym we'll do lots of general heavy kind of strength work, and then in that's rugby training sessions. You have to be able to do everything really. It's a sort of position where You have to be able to defend well. You have to understand kind of a bit what's going on in running lines and attack. You're not really that much involved in that. You're more have to be better at the contact area and cleaning out rucks.
We do a lot of heavy squats and a lot of power cleans, trying to kind of look at benefits that translate to scrummaging and also to jumping in the line out, and the same again, tackling and carrying.
For me, obviously, important things I look at. Obviously, gym work's important. Trying to keep mobile in the gym, trying to keep strong, keep powerful. That's important. And then out on the pitch, I'm constantly working on my scrum setups and my line out, and trying to keep improving there.
I can honestly tell you I was never in the gym in my life. They didn't have gyms in my day. What I did was, I was a farmer's son, so I was lucky. I would go home and I would help my brother to chuck bales of hay, maybe 1,000 bales of hay in a weekend or something like that. I would have my garden, I would wheel wheelbarrows, I would do all those things. But the one thing that I never did this thing with weights and all the rest, because to me, the body's not made for that. I eat good food. We could probably had a big improvement if we'd had a dietitian or something like that in our day. But it was an amateur game, that just didn't come into it. But I eat good food. I didn't eat rubbish food. And I think that was important. And I was very lucky because I played 14 years international rugby without injury. I had one major injury. I got my fibula broken at one stage. But I must have been doing something right. And you had to have that endurance. I was from a farming background. I keep on going back to that because there are some things that come from that sort of base. One is strength, because not today's modern farmers who sit in trucks and they have heaters and they have little twists and they have little gears. And this was farming. This was working. Work again. But it trains the mind. The game wasn't over at half-time. When you went into a field of corn, you didn't say, I'm too tired. We'll finish it tomorrow. No, we finish it today. And it was the same mind that you needed on the rugby field. We've got to finish this job. We don't stop at half-time. And there was all that part of training. And when we went to South Africa and New Zealand, which were the two major rugby playing countries in my day, we were normally playing against Boer farmers. And we were playing against New Zealand farmers. And these were tough guys, mentally and physically. And I must say, I went to South Africa when I was 21. I was a boy, really. And I would like to think, 4.5 months later, I came home a man.
Well, we don't train cardio too much in season because we'd be too tired from games, but in terms of the weights, we do the second row train with the back row mostly. It's mostly a lot of explosive movements and ensuring that, as you say, you're not just strong but you're powerful with it, so you can move heavy weights quickly. And that's probably where the modern game has changed a lot in the last sort of 5-10 years.
No, I think generally the main thing is to eat a lot of protein, because when you're doing such a high demanding job, which is very physically demanding like we are, when a lot of work in the gym, a lot of work in the rugby field, there's a big sort of toll on your body, and you need lots of protein to keep your body repairing itself, keep your body in good nick. You then have to eat lots of green veg, is obviously good for you as well. And then you've got to get the balance right, and how much carbohydrates you eat, because you don't be eating too much, so you're becoming overweight and carrying excess fat around with you, but you need to have enough so that you've got enough energy to train.
Generally, all rugby players follow a similar diet. There'll be specifics that will be more geared towards whether you need to put weight on or lose weight, but they're much more individual than they are position specific.
Not really. Fortunately, in position I play, sort of carrying a bit of weight is not such a bad thing. Obviously, you don't want to be fat, but it's important to eat a lot around training. Make sure your nutrition's good, so you eat well. Obviously, occasionally after games, having sort of a treat or two is no bad thing.
No, not really. We're all adults. We need to look after ourselves. We all have diet plans according to our own body needs. It's not really done positionally. Some guys can eat anything and never put a pound on, and other guys look at a cake and put some weight on. So yeah, everyone individually looks after themselves, but certainly after games we're encouraged to treat ourselves and not really worry too much about it. Pre-season's a bit different. When we're training very hard, we've really got to be careful what we eat.
Yes, there were no supermarkets in my day, and you know it was most of the food came from the farm. You know, we killed our own pigs. We killed our own pigs, literally killed our own pigs on the farm. We would have had a butcher who would have taken the cattle, and we would have bought whatever it was, a hind quarter bag or something, after it had been properly butchered and all the rest of it. We had things like our own eggs, our own bacon, all that sort of thing, and of course fish. But it was all what these dietitians talk about today, without all the other flowery stuff that there is around it. But it was just simply good food. And I can remember, for instance, that my mother, we didn't have pan sliced loaf in those days. And my mother would have baked every morning. It was the first thing when she got up, she would have baked on an open fire, on the griddle. And that was the bread we eat. We would have porridge. All the simple things. And I remember they'd probably go crazy about this, but I remember we had cows, we milked cows, and she used to skim the cream off the top of the milk, and we would have that with our porridge. And it was beautiful, but then we worked it off because we went on the field. And I don't know, you hear all these things nowadays about stuff they call cholesterol and all that stuff, which is real, but I suppose we never talked about things like that in those days because we worked it off.
Probably kind of 4 meals a day and snack a bit around that. I wouldn't know about calorie wise, but I'd guess about 4,000 or 5,000. It depends on, I think, on how hard we've been training, what sort of day it is, really.
I wouldn't be able to tell you calorie numbers, but we try and eat sort of 4 times a day, 4 meals a day. So it'd be breakfast, lunch, and then you'd eat about 4 o'clock, and then you'd eat again about 7. So that'd be 4 cooked meals, and then around that you'd obviously perhaps have 1 or 2 snacks. So, but I wouldn't be able to tell you calorie numbers.
In a normal training week, we'd probably look at around 3,000 to 3,500 calories a day. You're probably looking to get that through 5 meals. In pre-season, you're going to be closer to 5,000 or 6,000 calories, and more like 6 or 7 meals.
I think in pre-season we eat, around 6,000-7,000 calories. I think, which is a hell of a lot for an adult to eat. But we're all really big guys. Game week's a bit different in season because obviously our workload changes day to day. So before a game we'll be piling the calories in, but maybe Tuesday, Wednesday through the week we'll be a bit more mean on ourselves and not be eating quite as much.
It more tends to be, especially someone my age, it's kind of managing the injuries you've had, the issues you've got to have, the niggles you have. So I do like a sort of a core routine that I do once a week and things like that. And I've got, every morning I have sort of half an hour physio just to make sure my body's all kind of aligned, because I tend to get out of alignment around my hips. So I go in and see the physio every morning, they kind of loosen me off there, manipulate me, get me so at the start of the day I'm kind of all set up properly. We do a lot of proprioceptive work, so balancing, stabilising light weights, high reps, putting your joints in uncomfortable positions to strengthen all the ligaments and kind of fine motor neurons around those joints.
Yeah, definitely. It's a massive focus. When we're in the gym, we do our core lifts, our core heavy lift like a bench press or a squat, but we also do a lot of physio-based work. So for me at the moment, like you said, you obviously take a lot of impact on your shoulders, so trying to keep shoulder rehab's important. So you do lots of banded work, lots of stability work in your shoulder, keeping all that strong, that's important. And obviously the same with all your other major joints, your ankles and your hips and your knees.
We all have our own individual plan according to our weaknesses, so we'll be screened on a Monday after a game to find out if anything's going particularly wrong, but then we'll all have our own problems that we need to work on, and we have time through the week set aside for that in terms of rehab or strengthening areas.
Well, you had to think about your own ways of training. I think I was lucky in that I had genes from my parents who gave me the body I have. I would like to think that I trained my mind to try and improve that body. And you know, it was simple things. As I say, they do weights and things nowadays. I see schoolboys today, they don't look like schoolboys because they're doing these stupid weights, and all they're doing is destroying their body, as far as I'm concerned. I was always told in those days, be supple. Be supple. You can take punishment if you're supple. If your body is too tied up and too muscle bound, you won't take punishment. And I believe that that's why we have so much injury today. I think these guys are doing too many weights and doing too many things that the body can't take. And you know, I have always said, you don't build strong men, either mentally or physically, by going to the gym for an hour a day or 2 hours a day. You build strong men by working 8 hours a day, steady. And that's what I was lucky enough to do.
Not that much. Sometimes you have difficulty hearing the referee when he's calling engagement, but generally they say it pretty loud, so you can hear that. And then after that, it's just a case of kind of, just pushing really for how long it lasts, 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, you can't. You can hear what's going on because we're all shouting, but no, it's certainly a unique experience. But I think I must have hit over 1,000 scrums in my life, so you get used to it, and you just you go in there and try and do your job and work well as a unit.
Well, I think they've been brought in for sort of safety reasons, which I think they are definitely safer. I think the taking out of the hit and the collision impact is, I think, a big thing. I think you'd probably have to ask the props. It doesn't really make much difference to me, to be honest. And I don't know what the stats are about how many scrums are going down, having to be reset under these rules compared to the last rules. I'd have thought, it seems that you should think it should be more stable if it isn't the engagement. If the kind of props already engaged and bound on, there should be less going down, but as we all see, it still tends to happen quite a bit. So
there was a bit of uncertainty about why they brought in new scrum rules. There wasn't a clear feeling in the game that scrum rules weren't working. There was a clear feeling that scrums weren't being refereed very well, and I think a lot of people would argue that that's still the case. I think that it's better in that it makes it a bit simpler, and certainly I think further down the leagues you've seen a much greater transition in terms of clean ball. There are more phases played, there are less reset scrums.
Firstly, I'd say that I think they're definitely working. I think the scrum last year at times was very hard to sort of manage for the referees, but also for the players. And now definitely the ball seems to get out a bit more, because ideally at the end of the day that's what a scrum's for. It's to get the ball in and away and get your team playing. And I actually think personally, as a second rower, I think I enjoy the new laws a bit more. It puts a bit more stress on making sure your body height's in a good position, and various things like that.
Yeah, I hear all this thing about health and safety and scrums and collapsing, but maybe people are not as strong today as they were in my day. I don't know. But you know, I played a long time. I played a lot of games. I never played in a game where somebody was hurt in a scrum, because we all knew what our job was, and we all knew if we were strong enough to take on that job. But maybe guys today are trying to take on a job which they're not capable of doing. I don't know. But this year they seems to have changed it a bit. And it seems to be a little bit better. But I don't know why they ever changed it. I just don't understand what's going on. I don't know why. And I played in some tough scrums, I played in with some tough guys, but I've never really seen anybody get seriously hurt in a scrum.
Yeah, I don't mind the new laws. You know, you have to ask the props for their proper interpretation of what's going on, but you know, we as a team pride ourselves on our set piece, and we hope that we will work within whatever laws are said each season. We just hope that referees learn to interpret them the same every week, and if they do that, it's fair for everyone.
I think it's pretty difficult, to be honest. If your prop is being dominated or beat, because generally what seems to happen is it's not just a case of props pushing against each other. If it was, it'd be quite easy, and the good props are ones who are good at manipulating their opposition to get them into weak positions, so they end up they can't stay straight and they end up turning in or turning out. And then once they do that, once they're turned in or turned out, I can't really do anything, because as soon as if I'm behind my guy goes like this and his hips come out, then I'll just have to go with him, or I can't then stay with my other second row partner and we get split, and then our scrum's just totally gone. So really it's just if my prop is being dominated, there isn't really that much I can do. Obviously I can help him as much as I can by giving him as much weight and as much of a push and a good engagement, but if once that happens, his opposition then manipulates him by whether getting his head under him or moving his head around or his jaw or whatever they do in the front row, then I'm pretty screwed really if he is as well.
You obviously work with your props, so for me I work with the tight head and the scrum, but the key thing for a second row is like you said, you've got to try and stem it as best you can, so keeping your studs on the deck is very important. So on the engage, you keep your studs in, you're not lifting your feet, you're not scrummaging off one, or you always got 2 feet in the deck, and you're putting in as much weight through your prop as you can.
Keep myself pretty quiet, I don't really say much, just keep myself to myself, just sort of focus on what I know my job's going to be, a bit of visualisation.
I spend time thinking about small jobs that I have to do on the field. If you try and think of the big picture, you're not being effective. You need to think about little things that you can do, little situations, visualising situations where you're going to make a tackle or hit a ruck, or how you're actually going to do that physically, mechanically, what are you doing?
I personally don't. Everyone's completely different. Some guys like to bang their head on the wall and get themselves up. Other guys are very calm. I'm probably more towards the calm side. I like to keep myself to myself a little bit, go out and do my individual warm up on my own, and then go back into the change room and have a bit of time to think about my roles coming up.
Well, before games, big games, you know, there's the greatest thing you could ever do is represent your country. After that, the greatest thing you can do is play for the Lions and play in a test for the Lions. And I remember the biggest day of my rugby life was the first test for the Lions at Cape Town. And I remember before that, I remember being in the dressing room, and there's a lot of this you have to do for yourself. I know some players have to be led, but I prefer to do it myself. And you know, you have to develop this sort of complex, I suppose you would call it. And I would like to think that everybody in the team would do it, is to say, right, I will refuse to be second best. I want to be number one. I want to be in the first team, and I want to be number one. When we go out in that field, I want to be better than my opposition. And I remember you would think about this for days, and how you would, you know, what way you wanted your mind to be. And before a game, I remember talking to the Lions in '74, and I remember saying to them, you know, just think, where do you want to be when we come back in through this door? We're going out now for 80 minutes. Where do you want to be when we come back in through this door? Where does your mind want to be? Do you want to be a champion? Do you want to be a winner? And you know, it's a matter of getting the mind into that. In other words, I don't want to be second best. I will only accept number one, best.
All players are different. Some guys like to headbutt walls, and other guys like to, you know, quietly think about what they need to do. Some guys listen to music. It's all down to the individual, really. Me personally, I like to go over. You know, we have some sheets made in the run up to the game about what we're going to do on the day, and I'll have a sheet myself for the line out in terms of what I want to call. So I'll just quickly run through those before the game and make sure I've got them at the front of my mind for the first whistle.
No, I try and keep it very consistent. I think the key is that when you come here, you stick with what's worked for you back at the club and carry it through.
No. I think probably Brodie Retallick from New Zealand is up there at the moment. I think he's a really big physical guy, gets around, does a lot of work, big engine, and he's quite good in attack as well.
I think probably I would argue that the front runner at the minute is someone like Bakis Botha or Ebenezet. They are extremely dynamic, carry themselves well around the field, and you generally don't see those guys making many mistakes.
I think at the moment that we're actually kind of, there's a lot of good locks around at the moment. There's obviously I think the Kiwi pairing are very strong. I think that the young South African Ebenezet, I think his qualities are there for all to see. But for me, although he's probably aging a bit now, in his prime he was the best, and say he's aging, he's still probably in his prime now. He's still playing some great rugby. But Paul O'Connor for Ireland is probably right up there in terms of what he can do as a player. I think you could see in the Lions how well he played.
I would probably say Sam Whitelock's probably at the front of my position at the moment. He's technically very good. He's good in the line out. He's getting better and better in the tight, and his work rate's immense. He makes a lot of tackles, and he's part of a great All Blacks team. So yeah, he's certainly probably top of the tree at the moment.
At the present time, I couldn't really answer that question, but the one guy who I would have loved to have had around in my day and I would have loved to have played with would have been Martin Johnson. I think Martin Johnson has been the best captain and the best forward that England have had in my lifetime.
There you go, the second row, the line-out commanders. Keep looking out for other episodes of Scrummage to learn how to play all the positions of rugby union.